Round 12 of the 2009 FF1M Championship comes to you from the twisty Hungaroring circuit in Hungary, just outside the capital of Budapest. Last season saw a total domination from the Shannon team. Bruno Senna won that race ahead of his teammate Pastor Maldonado, although Christian Klein did retire from the lead late during the race. We got a complete smorgasbord of strategies here for the race. Most drivers are expected to do 3 stops. Some will try 2 stops and a few minority will choose the 1 stop, around 24% of the runners. Tyre grip clearly shows around the circuit, and Fernando Alonso topped the timesheets in Q1 thanks to the super soft tyres on the AJ. Rubens Barrichello was second in that session ahead of both FJRs, who have switched to the soft tyres after struggling for qualifying performance on the medium tyres earlier during the season. So the starting grid, we have got Rubens Barrichello on pole position again for GRM, an entire second ahead of the Autodynamics car of Mark Webber. A tremendous performance from him. And another super soft runner in 3rd place is Sébastien Bourdais, a second behind his own teammate. Massa qualifies 4th after this is a massive improvement for FJR after their medium tyred performance in Hockenheim, not showing them any speed at all. Lewis Hamilton, the championship leader, qualifies in 5th place on the mediums. So the shake and bake again looking strong. Less so are the Tornado team. They've only qualified, well, Jenson Button has only qualified in 13th place and Raikkonen 10th. Timo Glock has qualified 11th place. And so we looked forward to the race. 5 lights on, 5 lights out. Who gets the good start? It looks like Massa's absolutely charged off the grid, starting from 4th place, breaking into turn 1, but it is Rubens Barrichello leading, and Kubica's made a good start as well. He's challenging Sébastien Bourdais for 3rd place. Mark Webber's had a poor start from 2nd on the grid. Bourdais still at the inside of Kubica into turn 2. So it's Rubens Barrichello leading from Massa, ahead of Bourdais and Kubica. Hamilton's made a dreadful start. Where's he disappeared off to? Raikkonen's had an absolute flyer. Raikkonen started 10th on the grid, he's up to 6th place already. Button has gained 5 positions as well. Adrian Suttil's gained a position. But it's the 2 GRMs, 1st and 3rd. And as we look at Rosberg challenging, and that's contact with Bruno Senna. Rosberg has taken off Senna. So now at the end of the first lap, we got Rubens Barrichello. Both GRMs are being challenged by both FJRs. Massa is the fastest man on the track, and Robert Kubica challenging Bourdais for 3rd place. Kimi Raikkonen having a look at Mark Webber as well. Lewis Hamilton's made up a position on Fernando Alonso. And now he's behind Jenson Button. So what on earth happened to Hamilton at the start? Because he started 5th and he dropped outside it's the 10th place. Absolute shocker from the shake and bake. But the good news is that he does seem like the fastest car in terms of race pace, so he can still challenge for a victory. Now he comes up behind Button into the tight chicane. We got some jockeying for position. It looked like Raikkonen having a look at Mark Webber. He's dropped back a bit, but now he's catching back up to him already. We tend to see a high attrition rate at this race, and a lot of accidents, particularly at that corner there, just underneath the Agit Bridge. Into the penultimate corner comes this train. Now we look at front and see Rubens Barrichello is the fastest man on the track. Kubica's swarming about all over the gearbox of Bourdais. And Raikkonen shaping up a look at Webber. He's got him into turn 1, and Button has taken Suttil as well, so both Tornadoes on the move. And Button could take another position if Webber's not careful, round the outside into turn 2. Felipe Massa. Barrichello's gone on the curb, and Massa's up the inside. He takes the lead. That's my mistake, sorry. Kubica taking 3rd from Bourdais. A bit confusing when you've got GRM from FJR and then another GRM from another FJR. Now Bourdais has got Raikkonen behind him in 4th place. You can see the straight line speed of that GRM, it's very, very good. Tornadoes have never been that fast in the straight line. Hamilton taking a Suttil. It's Timo Glock that's the fastest man on the track. Now, he started way down in 11th place and didn't make much of an impression off the line. I think he's looking to get past Fernando Alonso. The two Tornadoes running line astern. Button having a look at Raikkonen, but Raikkonen shaping up for a move into the chicane on Sebastian Bourdais, but not making that swing stick. Kubica pulling away from Bourdais now. And we've seen this in Hockenheim. Barrichello is actually hanging on very, very well. He's just holding off Massa by 0.8 of a second, although there is a long way to go. And Raikkonen having a look at Bourdais into turn 11, but that's not going to work out. So now coming out the final corner. Barrichello's pulling out a gap on Massa. I wonder if Massa is on a slightly heavier fuel load. Bourdais defending from Raikkonen, and defending very well indeed. But now it is Hamilton on the move. He's got the two Tornadoes in his sights. And Adrian Suttle not dropping back too much, but you can just see he's not quite got the legs at the moment, but it depends on how quickly the super softs wear out on Bourdais. The super softs have definitely helped JRM in terms of 1 lap pace. And now up the inside, Raikkonen, not quite. He's nearly contact as well. Let's see how much of a train Bourdais can develop behind him here. At the moment it is a 5-car train with Bourdais in the lead. Nearly running wide there. So coming around the penultimate corner. And it's lap 7 right now. Barrichello extending his lead from Massa. That's 2.2. Kubica is catching up to Massa. You see Raikkonen weaving about all over the place, desperate to get through, but Bourdais defending again. This is good stuff from the Frenchman. Now the Hungarian Grand Prix is normally where the silly season has started out, and the first driver to be announced was Roman Grosjean, the FF1M frontrunner, who currently drives for Liquid Target Racing, the sister team to Andy Racing. He's currently tied for the championship with other frontrunner Vitaly Petrov. And there are only 4 more races to go at Spa and Monza. So Roman Grosjean looking to start his FF1M campaign with FJR. They've signed him on a 2-season deal, which will see him past 2011. And FJR looking at another driver, as Michael Schumacher even has announced his intentions to return to FF1M. This is the former FF1M champion, of course, Michael Schumacher. Took a break after the 2006 season when he drove the last few races for FJR, and FJR looking to re-sign him for the 2010. But no doubt other teams will be interested in the very talented German. So we'll just wait and see where he decides to go. Other drivers that have been announced: Sebastian Buemi will remain with the Mitchell team, and he will be joined by FF2M race winner Nico Hulkenberg, the man that currently drives for STV Racing, the sister team to FJR. Other lineups that have been announced: Raikkonen at Tornado has been joined by Fernando Alonso, so that is going to be an absolutely almighty lineup. Shannon have announced Sebastian Vettel, the current Guy Racing driver, alongside exciting Mexican Sergio Perez, and he currently drives for the Danish racing team. Sergio not quite a race winner, but he has shown some impressive pace. Now look at this queue. Timo Glock has managed to weave his way past Adrian Suttle for 8th place, and now he's caught up to the back of this train, and this could become a 6-car train. depending on if Raikkonen can get up the inside of Bourdais into turn 1. Bourdais defending again, and cars all over the place, but clean racing, which is good to see. And Bourdais clearly struggling with his tyres. Out of the race is Fernando Alonso. His engine has blown up. So fastest in Q1. Qualified down in 9th place on the super softs, and his engine has given up the ghost. Then Raikkonen right behind Bourdais into the chicane, but Bourdais adjusting his line. And adjusting his line very, very well. They just cannot find a way past Bourdais. Another Tornado does suffer from a lack of straight line speed, and the JRM is very, very quick in a straight line. Even so, I would expect Raikkonen to pull away from Bourdais if and when he does make his way past. And a big lock-up from Bourdais. So desperate to hang on to that 4th place. But this is giving the top 3 a bit of an edge, because Barrichello leads on lap 13 by 1.9 seconds now. So Massa starting to close up on Rubens. Bourdais going to the inside again. And Kubica 4.3 behind Barrichello. So he is definitely catching up to him and Massa. And the two shake and bake side by side at turn 2. Who's going to get that? Turn 3, it's Timo Glock who's taken the position from Lewis Hamilton. And this is a championship battle as well, and Hamilton coming under pressure from Adrian Sutil. So, Timo Glock is making his way through the field. And into the chicane, and it's still Bourdais. I wonder what strategy he's running on, because he's now 15 seconds behind Barrichello. Marc Genet in the pits. Way down the order. So has he had some sort of incident with another driver? Or is this a really early stop to get some new tyres? Lap 14, and Massa's got some sort of problem here, because Kubica's just powered straight past him. And still Raikkonen behind Bourdais. Now if Massa does have a problem, then this train of cars had better be careful for the slowing FJR. Because they may catch up to him around this lap. We are in the pit stop window if Massa was on a 3-stop strategy, so it's well cost him too much time, and Bourdais gone straight on at the chicane. Raikkonen runs wide over the curbs. Someone else has gone off there, and Massa's out. It's a blown engine or some sort of reliability problem, and an engine problem there. It says water leak, but the water leak comes from within the engine. That's a crucial error from Bourdais, and that's another error from Raikkonen. He's locked up into the penultimate hairpin. And now he's leading the train of cars that is just all over the back of the Tornado car. So Bourdais down to 7th. And Glock looking to make a move on Button in 4th place, but nothing happening there. Now what sort of strategy is Raikkonen on? Because all the drivers are trying out something quite different here. Some are trying 1, some are trying 2, and the majority of the field are trying 3 stops. So we'll just have to wait and see what sort of... And is that some smoke coming out of the back, or is that just the discoloration of the tarmac? Looks quite strange there. Yeah, once the pit stops start, it'll be interesting to see how the race shapes out. So I would be pretty sure that Barrichello's on a 3-stop strategy with the way that he's held on there, because we don't really expect these super softs to even last that long on a 2-stop, or even certainly a 1-stop. But yeah, Barrichello is doing a very nice job out the front. But still, I would expect him to be on a 3-stop. And FJR have brought the curves back on their cars, and look how much. That was 1 and a bit seconds that Raikkonen took out of the leader, and Glock has moved past Button for 4th place. That's a crucial move. Because Glock is only 20 points behind Hamilton in the championship. So, and he has got a chance. He did have a chance in the 2005 season, I believe, when he was driving for Guy Racing. He was up against both Pedersen drivers. It were both Mark Webber and Ralf Schumacher driving for Pedersen. Glock had a chance coming into the last race, but the Pedersens were too quick on that day, and it was Ralf Schumacher that took the championship. So Glock does have some experience in a championship battle. And now you can see the cars are beginning to space out a bit. Raikkonen has pulled out some 7/10 over Glock, and Glock has pulled out 1.2 seconds. And is that the other FJR that's slowing down there? I'm pretty sure I did see a slowing FJR going into turn 2. It was a white liveried car, so it could have been a Dark Wolf, but that looked quite strange, that. Timo Glock into the pits for, that looks like the first 3 stops. 60 laps to go. And at 10 seconds, that looks like a 3-stop strategy for Glock. And FJR switched to these soft tyres for this race, and they brought Kurz back because they felt that it didn't make much difference to reliability at all when they took it off. Cars were still blowing up. There wasn't a slowing Kubica going around turn 2. It must have been a Dark Wolf being lapped. We did see Genet into the pits very early on. So around turn 4 goes Glock, and then into turn 5. Here's Adrian Suttil, looking at 6th place Bourdais. And all back of him, but he's ran too wide, he's gone too fast in that corner. Nice recovery, Adrian. That'll cost him a bit of time, but no doubt he'll catch up back to Bourdais again. Button comes into the pits. He was running behind Glock when Timo pitted, so I'd expect him to rejoin behind the German. Jensen has had some awful luck in the past few races. He's failed to finish 4 times in a row. He scored a win at the Imola race, a 2nd place at Bahrain, and a 3rd place at Nürburgring. But it's still some shocking luck for Jensen. He's had 7 retirements this season. Not as many as Rubens Barrichello, who's had 9 retirements. Rubens has had a podium in Monaco. And currently, lap 21, he is leading. Although Kubica is beginning to close the gap now, he's down to 3 seconds. Into the pits comes Barrichello though, on his 22nd lap. Now let's see how long his pits are. 8.6, that must be a 3-stop. There's been 56 laps to go. 8.6 would see him around mid-distance. So Kubica takes the lead now. He's 3.2 seconds ahead of Raikkonen. Barrichello's rejoined into some traffic. He's behind Bourdais, but he's also behind a lap Dark Wolf. He's rejoined ahead of Glock though, which is quite significant, I'd say. The shake and bake is no slouch in a straight line, so he would have a better chance of getting past Barrichello when it comes to it. Adrian Zaug is having a look, and into the pits comes Kubica, so he didn't have that much more fuel than Rubens. And this is a fairly long stop, that's 11.1 seconds. Be interesting to see how far he can go with that amount of fuel on board. And into the pits comes Bourdais. Now rounding turn 1, Kubica rejoins just ahead of Vettel and lapping the Dark Wolf. So that's 5th place for Kubica, he's rejoined behind Glock and Barrichello. So the new tyres have paid off very well for Timo Glock, but Glock has just run wide at turn 4. That'll cost him about a second or so. Now here's Kimi Raikkonen into the final sector. He comes now, only 2 more hairpins, and the Tornado team out in the pits, ready for Kimi. And into the pits comes Raikkonen. So he'll relinquish the lead, I think, to Barrichello. But Raikkonen has been on an absolute charge since he was freed behind Bourdais. So how quickly can he do his pit stop? He's in the window for a 2-stop, and 10.3 seconds. It still looks quite marginal between 3 and 2. Let's see how far he can go with this amount of fuel on board and new tyres. But out of the pits comes Raikkonen. And who's that in the lead? So Lewis Hamilton takes the lead, having not made a pit stop as of yet. Barrichello remains in second. And Raikkonen has jumped Robert Kubica for what would be probably a net 4th place. So Raikkonen was absolutely flying. Raikkonen coming up to lap the Pedersen by the looks of it. Yep, that's a Pedersen. Into the chicane he comes. And the Pedersen gets out of the way. There was Kubica, so here comes Glock now, challenging Rubens Barrichello for that 2nd place. We know how fast the GRM is in a straight line, but both of these teams do have a KERS on board. Like the only teams that weren't running KERS were Dodgem. In fact, that's the only team that's not running KERS at all. But look how quick the shake and bake is in a straight line. Glock challenging Rubens Barrichello into turn 1. That's 2nd place. And it will be 1st place when Hamilton makes his pit stop. When he'll make his pit stop, that'll be another question, because Hamilton's gone quite deep into this first stint. Mark Webber pits for 8th place. The failures to make it through into this race were Dodgem and Mitchell, and they were running the medium tyres. That's Glock being held up by the Dark Wolf. And the Dark Wolf holding up Rubens Barrichello. That's quite poor driving, that. But Mitchell and Dodgem, both on the medium tyres, failing to make it through into Q2. And that is purely down to tyre grip, because the super soft tyres and the soft tyres are clearly faster in over 1 lap. But once again we're seeing the pattern that the mediums are just far more superior in the race. Now then, Hamilton holds a 24-second lead over Glock, and Glock is catching him on the new tyres. Now, is Hamilton one of the few on a 1-stop? Because he tried that trick in Montreal and it didn't really work out for him at all. Meanwhile, I'm just seeing Button getting past Kubica for 5th place, and Button being held up a lot by traffic, and Button spins it! And, oh, this is and there's another driver being pulled off there. Who on earth was that? Kobayashi. He was letting Button through, but Button just lost it completely. So that's handed Kubica 5th place back on a plate. Now then, we're having a look at Kobayashi trying to have a look at a Shannon, and there's Clean in there as well. This is Lewis Hamilton on lap 39. He hasn't made a pit stop, so he is 1-stopping in this race. 17.6 seconds over Glock. This has been a cracking stint for Hamilton, considering he's on this 1-stop. This could pay off massively come the end of the race, because Glock definitely needs to pit again. And Hamilton ready for a pit stop. Now let's see how long this stop is, because he can still 2-stop if he wants to, but he is at half distance now. I'm absolutely sure that he isn't on 1-stop. So let's see as he drives into his pit box. That was a Shannon coming into the pits as well. Up on the jacks. Around 24% of the field are 1-stopping, and 13.5, I'm sure that's a 1-stop. He'll lose the lead to Glock, he'll probably lose 2nd to Raikkonen. And that's third place for Hamilton. That's been a very good stint for Lewis, the championship leader by 20 points. It didn't really explain his lack of pace in the early part, but it could have explained his poor start. Just a fact with fuel. And then once he got into a rhythm, he handled it very, very well. So lap 40, we've got Glock leading from Raikkonen, Hamilton 3rd, Kubica 4th, followed by both GRMs in 5th and 6th. Suttil 7th and Jenson Button rejoined in 8th place after his spin into the top sequence of corners. And off the track again. That is Hamilton this time. So both shake and bakes have been a bit sloppy this race. Glock into the pits. 37 laps to go. This is his second stop. That's a short stop compared to Hamilton. I think Timo's sticking with his 3. So probably he will rejoin behind Hamilton. But how fast can Glock go on a lighter tank of fuel? Raikkonen now leads on lap 41. But look at this traffic! In it is Sebastian Bourdais trying to lap a Dark Wolf. And he's shunted the Dark Wolf off the track. And he's holding up Suttil, I think. And yep. Button now challenging Sebastian Vettel for 7th place. Going into the chicane. I said again that Jenson Button has had a very unlucky season. He's currently without a drive and he is the current world champion as well. But there have been some races where he has been quite sloppy. This race, for instance, he's had a spin, but there have been other races as well where his driving's been a bit sloppy. So coming out of the final corner, Button on the mediums, Vettel on these softs. He looks to have the pace into turn 1, Vettel defending, and Vettel successfully defending. Raikkonen on lap 45. Leads by 11.9 seconds from Hamilton, but Raikkonen has to make a stop, and I believe Hamilton can go to the end. Glock in 3rd, I believe, also has to make another stop. He'll have the advantage of fresh tyres come the end, but Hamilton looks as if he has pulled an absolute masterstroke. And into the chicane, Jenson Button challenging. Can't quite do it there. Into the top sequence of corners. Seen as many driver errors as what we have normally seen in this corner, and as soon as I said that, I've done the commentator's curse on Button and shunting. That was a shake and bake. Who was that? It's Timo Glock from 3rd place. Now that must have been an absolute misjudgment, because as Jenson was rejoining, and let's have a look at this corner. I don't believe that Glock made the same error and then misjudged it completely. So as soon as I was saying that both drivers were that none of the drivers were really making mistakes at that corner, 2 in a row make a mistake at that corner and then shunt. What an absolutely incredible job the commentator has got of cursing the drivers. Into the pits comes Raikkonen from the lead for his 2nd stop. Pitted with 53 laps to go, so now with 29 laps to go, this must be his final stop. Then point 3 looks as if he can get it to the end of the race on that tank of fuel. So Raikkonen was one of the 30% on a 2-stop strategy. He'll lose the lead to Hamilton, because Hamilton has been very quick on this stint. on the new tyres, but now with fresh tyres, Raikkonen can give it a go. Raikkonen 29 points behind Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship. Into the pits comes Kubica as well for his second stop. He did quite a long stint with that one, roughly 30 laps, so he's two stopping as well. Third place is Rubens Barrichello coming into turn 4. On the curbs a little bit. Locking up goes the GRM. Off the track goes Rubens. Hit the wall. Out of the race. That's another piece of bad fortune for GRM. Clean's had a good race. Moved up to 7th. And he's out of it. Just goes straight on at that corner. Understeering. And that's 6th place gone. We can clearly see that's an accident. Lap 77 and the final lap for Lewis Hamilton. Chose the one-stop strategy, had a poor start, and I said that he was still in contention for victory, and I was proved right. He is leading. His one-stop strategy has proved to be absolutely amazing. And that he currently holds a 22-second lead over Kimi Raikkonen. And with Glock out of the race, he's going to extend the championship lead to 32 points. Raikkonen would still remain third behind Glock, but only 1 point behind the German. I'll just review the rest of the top 8. We've got Kubica third, which is really what he needs after a few awful races for the Polish driver, including 2 first lap incidents in a row. Vettel fourth, been a steady drive for him, starting 7th on the grid, 2 laps down on Hamilton come the end of it there. But coming out the final corner now, and it's Lewis Hamilton taking his 7th win of the season after a brilliant strategy and a genuinely fast car underneath him. Once again the mediums help, but a good win nonetheless. Raikkonen and Kubica complete the podium. Mark Webber takes an absolutely brilliant 5th for Autos Dynamics. Moves him closer to Andy Racing. And Lucas Di Grassi makes it 2 points, 2 cars in the points for Guy Racing. Kobayashi takes 7th, and taking the final point is Nico Rosberg. And this is the championship. 32 points is now the gap between Hamilton and Glock. There's only a few more races to go. Hamilton looks well in control. Raikkonen third in the championship. Vettel looking more secure in 4th, ahead of the race winner of San Marino. Massa holds on to 6th, but only just from Kobayashi. And Kubica moved up the order with his 3rd place, his 2nd podium of the season. And we will see you for the next race at the brilliant Spa circuit.